Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Talk Trackmania. We are back with these lovely smiling faces here once again. Smiling to see all of you once again and smiling to see me returning 3 seconds before we were due to go live. However, I do have a drink with me, so all is good and the proverbial hood disaster averted. But we are back. We are here for episode number 36. A little bit of a recap, a little bit of a review as to what's been going on in the world of ZrT and Trackmania for this episode. But before we get underway, I'll remind you guys once again, this podcast is brought to you by esac.gg. Big thanks to Erwin behind the camera. Back now as he had a holiday in Bucharest, if I'm correct, and also it was his birthday. We did wish you a happy birthday last week, Erwin, so you're not getting it twice. Don't think you're that lucky. But as I said, we are back here once again. I'm your host, TM Scotsman. I'm joined, as always, by the lovely LuckersTurbo and Shoy, Mr. Number 2 himself, who looks pristine with what looks to be his fancy new web camera. But does he have his Mickey Mouse shirt on? We'll see perhaps throughout the episode.
Yeah.
Oh,
no.
Anyway, wasn't holiday or Bucharest for Erwin, so I'm sure he's going to beat me up later. But how are you guys doing, Mr. Turbo? You do have your Mickey Mouse t-shirt on, ready, primed and ready. I understand that you've got quite a bit to do today as well, following up on today's podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I already helped my sister moving, did some YouTube stuff, did something for university. Then I attached this shirt as a lucky charm. I won Div 3. But I was like 6 times in the orange spot, but I eventually won. I laughed my ass off. I had a lot of fun. And yeah, I'm doing good. I mean, I'm also busy with the speedrun coverage after that, so that's why the episode will be a bit shorter today. But I'm happy to be here. I mean, weather is great in Germany. A little bit hot. That's why I'm living behind the curtain at the moment. Or how you want to call that. But how are you doing, Paul? And how are you doing, Toby?
Shorty, we'll let you go.
Well, I wasn't as lucky as you with Cup of the Day, but it's just Cup of the Day. But yeah, I mean, I'm overall all right. It's just a little bit stressful right now for me. I have to plan some stuff with university and getting my second vaccination shot, which is badly aligned, to say the least. Yeah, I mean, everything is fine, you know. It's gonna sort out. It's gonna sort itself out, and whatever happens. It's gonna be fine. How are you doing, Scotty?
I mean, it's been going okay, I guess. I had 2 big problems today. First of all, I put on Twitter that I have been trying to rebook my driving test. My theory test for my driving test. And it's now got a queue system in place to avoid so many people going onto the website at once. So I thought, okay, I'll queue up for it. There was 23,000 people in the queue ahead of me, deteriorating at roughly a rate of around 50 people per 20 minutes. So roughly I'd be there for about 2 weeks if I wanted to actually be able to access the website, which is ridiculous. But I decided to leave it open in another tab, and about 5-6 hours later, I'm now at 17,000, and it has told me there is going to be maintenance, so it's going to be reset anyway. Other than that, I plan to restart the gym today. However, walked all the way down to the gym, which took about 35 minutes in blisteringly hot weather, and realised I'd forgot my padlock, so I couldn't leave my stuff at the gym. I had to go all the way back. And
excuses.
Yeah, we're gonna be back tomorrow, so it'll be all good. But yeah, a little bit of a shorter podcast today. Mr. Turbo is leaving us. Maybe we're not entertaining enough company for him, so he's going to be moving on to do a commentary for the speedrun done by Rasa. So definitely check that out. What channel will it be on, Turbo?
It will be on the ESA Marathon 2 channel, because it's like an event for ESA, but like before that, I don't even know what that is. I was so confused searching everything out. But it will be great. I mean, I prepared something. The 25 summer maps will be played by the beautiful and charming Rasa, and they needed a commentator, and he asked me, so I'm gladly doing that. Looking forward to that. So you can, guys, check that out. You will find it. Also gonna share that on my Discord and on Twitter. Yeah, but enough advertisement here from my side, but that's why I have to leave earlier. Let's actually jump into the topic, because we had one of the biggest events ongoing, or like starting this this weekend or the previous weekend with is the Zerator Cup 2021, which was played in a trio format. First question, guys. I mean, I've played it. What have you guys captured from it? What was your impression about it? What, like, the first things that come into your mind?
First thing that came to my mind is I like the trio format. I like the idea of having so many people. Like, it brings me back to the team tournament kind of thing. It brings me back to Shorty. I don't know if you'll remember the tournament ran by the likes of Mass and such before MML. It was like the Spartan Cup type thing. This is what it kind of reminds me of, like a kind of 3v3 type event with multiple trios all participating towards the same thing, and it was really nice to watch. I mean, the maps weren't horrifically obnoxious. You know, the maps were watchable, the maps were entertaining, and there was a lot of back and forth, which I like to see. I mean, too many times in Zerator Cups gone past, it felt like you had three people, obviously not the case, but it felt like you had three people who could do the map really well, who were always winning every round, and then everyone else were, 10 seconds behind because they made a big mistake. But yeah, very entertaining to watch. I was watching none other than the beautiful man to my left or right or something. But yeah, it was quite entertaining to watch. That was my main impression for it. What did you think, Shoy?
Yeah, I think if I think about it, and the main point that comes to mind is I'm just sad because every single guy I watched is out now.
Yeah.
No one made it. Kai didn't make it, like the team with Marius and Lars that I was also cheering on didn't make it. Granadi obviously also didn't make it. A bit sad, but overall I agree with you. It reminds a bit of the Spartan Cup. The idea with multiple trios going against each other is definitely nice. I'm also a fan of like team cups in general, like 3v3 format. It's definitely like, even though you can't really play together as a team in Trackmania as much, it's still sort of like it's more enjoyable. You know, like you don't play for yourself all alone. You have one or two guys in TeamSpeak as well, or Discord, and you talk with them. It was enjoyable to watch. The maps were the maps definitely weren't as horrific as some maps maybe previously have been in some editions, but with some exceptions. I still don't really understand the map picking from Zerator. I mean, I don't mind it. The only thing I would like to maybe criticize is that it's weird that you have you have 4 quarters and always the same maps, always the same map order. Maybe gets a little bit repetitive if you do end up watching like all of it, which I try to at least. It's a bit confusing as well, to be fair, watching it, because there were so many people on the same server. Hopefully that's one thing that's going to be better in the final. But like trying to watch it and trying to understand all of what's going on is definitely not really part of the cup. You know, you basically watch, or at least what I did, because I obviously don't even understand or speak French. I didn't watch the big stream from himself. Not sure how he did, or I mean, obviously the numbers were there, so he must have been doing good. But I was just spectating like one trio, like with point of view, and then that's not too much. Then you have enough information to like actually understand what's going on a bit better.
Yeah, so maybe I can give you guys my player point of view, because I haven't really practiced too much for the competition, because I had busy times coming up also with exams now. Then also my trio was playing, but they were not that motivated. We just played casually for fun, and we definitely had our fun, but taking an event place at 19 and till 0 on a Saturday, it felt a bit weird for me. So there was like one thing that was like, it was okay for me, of course, but I really lost focus at the ending. So in round 3, where the round really mattered, we just went out there and didn't proceed into the 4th round, where we could definitely made something happen. But in general, the tournament itself, so it's not about how many rounds there were, but when the tournament took place at a certain time of the day. That was maybe a bit too late, but other than that, I think the format was great. Not too many rounds. The quarterfinals were split, and now we have the playoffs that are also split. So we have 9 teams that went through. into the next round. And as Shorty already said, no English-speaking team or no non-French team has made it, or non-French speaking team has made it into the semi-final, which is a bummer. The team from Marmelade, Inns, and Evon was pretty close. They got 4th in their match, but the other teams didn't go through. So also the team from Spam, also Granadi's team and Mario's team, I think those were the teams that were also in the quarterfinals, didn't make it. But I think all in all, a good event. I really liked it. I mean, I was casting the quarterfinals, but having 27 players on a server can be very, very messy. So I was just spectating sometimes a player that is a bit behind, and it's hard to capture everything that is happening. That is true. But this will be simmering down for the semifinals, because there will be 3 semifinals with 3 teams each, and 1 team is advancing into the next round. So that will be better. So only 9 players on each server.
Do you know one thing that, and I do apologise, I seem I've got something in my eye, so like I'm not just being weird, or well, maybe I'm being weird and I've got something in my eye. But one thing that this really highlighted for in this event, and especially when it got to the quarterfinals, when it was a lot closer and such, was the lack of customization in the nicknames. That was one issue that was really super highlighted for me, because it was really hard to keep track of who was actually in what trio. Because I think, for example, in the first quarterfinal, which I believe BS competition won, if I do remember correctly, or whichever one it was they won, it felt like there was one team who I actually knew were a team, you know? Unless the ones that I've kind of pre-prepared myself with information about, oh, it's going to be these people in this team, those people in that team. I really had no idea, you know, and that's something which I feel was a little bit of a letdown. I mean, I understand there's some sort of limited ability to customize nicknames or something like that in the game at the moment. I've seen some people customizing some things, some people with some elaborate clan tags and so on. But yeah, that was something that, I mean, when you have team matches and, like, you know, your other competitive styles, it's much easier to tell because you've just got the red team and the blue team. You know who's going to be part. You can clearly see, okay, this guy's tag's red. When I see his car, I know he's red team, you know. But for something, especially with this, with quite small factor of teams, so 3-man teams, and then 9 teams in total, it really was a nightmare to keep up with. And that was one thing which I think really exposed the shortcoming caused by the lack of ability to customize your own nickname.
Yeah, I mean, I was also saying that. So if you press tab, you could see the names, but on the live CPs, you couldn't see the team names or the team tags. And then some people were confused. Wait, isn't the tag the team? And like, they were just really confused, but that has nothing to do with that. And then I had to explain it. So some things were, of course, very messy. You figured out some teams, for example, the non-French teams, that was a bit easier, or Carl Jr., Bren, Kenny, for example, those known teams. But then you had Energize, and those players all from BGenius on one server, and then they were in 2 teams, and I was so confused with that. Like, who's even in that team, and did they ace them now? What happened? Like, then you have to explain, and then if you get something wrong, and you usually get that one wrong because there are 10 million different options, it was really hard to understand that. So I had to click on this banner or on the point score again to check out whether or not they're in the team or not, you know? So it was hard to know or hard to notice. But I think all in all, as a player, you could see where you are. You could see how you score. But of course, you don't see position 9 from 27. But still, yeah, I think a nice event also with the trio format, more casual. I mean, we can see an approach from Carl Jr. and Bren by just taking a just known streamer who's not bad in Trackmania. We have seen one round that also went viral on Twitter. That was insane. Maybe you guys have seen that. That clip has gotten some insane amount of views. That was very cool. But you know, it's not about the competitive side. It's more about the fun. And that's what I really like about this competition, that the casual side is really not being neglected. Yeah, that is really cool.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. It's. I think we all agree on that point. Like, if you play ZrT Cup, you don't play for the money. I think barely anyone plays for the money, because if we are like completely honest, the prize pool isn't even that big. You know, the prize pool isn't even that big. at least looking at what it could be if Zerator wanted to, and that's not really the point of the tournament at all. Like no one is in there for the money. You're in there for the fun and maybe also a bit for the hype and everything. But yeah, that's definitely you can see that. I still would have liked, like you said, I was actually spectating your cast as well. And even though you tried really hard and you did get a lot of things right, it's still just so many players, so many teams at the same time, and you can tell that the in-game overlays and stuff, they are not made for that, obviously. Like it would have been nice, maybe like the Spartan Cup did. Like they had their own customized hardware. You could see teams better and all of that. I mean, it's a lot of work for just one fun competition, obviously, but it would have helped a lot in those earlier rounds. And I think those earlier rounds are not more important, but there were so many earlier rounds as well. There were so many teams people cheered on went out already and were interested in, and that's kind of sad that in those rounds it's kind of messy. Like the semi-final and final, they are going to be way better, probably, because then you have less teams. And maybe, hopefully, the players that are in the same team will use the same team tag. That would help, because it's really easy, you know. We got this now in the game finally. So please, players, use the same tag. It makes it a lot easier to spec.
Most of them did that, actually, I think.
Yeah.
But for example, our team, we didn't do it. So yeah, I think it's a good idea. But also, like what Rioter said, club tags on the leaderboard would be the solution for it. Yeah. I cannot stress that one out more, because the more you see that tag or just the distinct coloring, the better it is. And yeah, I don't know. I think Paul is still suffering with his eye. That is not like a real, like, oh yeah, I'm thinking about it. It's like
I'm just trying to cover it now. Like it's game over, you know.
But peeling in it, it's also not good.
Yeah. No one's allowed to see it anymore.
I think you should maybe get some water over it, because it can get really bad. I had that already. Like I got some carrot into my eye, and then it 2 days I had that eye. So maybe just go for that.
There's not something in my eye. It's I think it's like suntan lotion or something. When I've been rubbing my face, and it feels
then
like
there's
some
something
of that.
in there.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know if it's just being fucking weird.
Maybe you're just weird. I don't know.
Yeah, that's equally possible.
I also had that once when I was in the earlier school. I got something in my eyes, I fell and got something in my eyes, and I had to wear this pirate cap for a month or so, and I had eye drops and all of that shit. So yeah, you really don't want that.
Yeah, it's not good. So I mean, I will just get some water out of that.
That's post-podcast treatment. Don't you guys worry about me.
Okay. All right, then you have to not complain. No, just kidding.
I'm not complaining. you just yeah, I'm suffering, but I'll keep going.
You gotta be a man, suffer in silence, please.
Yeah, exactly.
Be strong in this
society. That's a dangerous.
That's silent, isn't it?
That's a dangerous statement nowadays.
Exactly, that's a very dangerous statement.
Goddamn shorty with his toxic masculinity. Get out of here.
But anyhow, let's go back to the topic. Where did we stop actually? I mean, casual tournaments, spectating, tags. I mean, maps were really hard, in my opinion. Not as many maps as in the prior editions, but for me, wow, the maps were really, really hard. You really had to find a strategy on those. So as a player, I practiced, let's say 10 hours. Not possible.
10 hours.
That's nothing for 12 maps or 13.
You practice more. You practice more for a fun cup than I do for a serious competition.
For German Trackmania Cup.
No, I did more than 10 hours for that one actually.
But I think that's something else, because you cannot compare Trackmania Cup with
because you already training is part of the experience. You don't train alone, for example, and you also have way more maps. So you obviously can't compare it.
But I was definitely practicing too little, so that was my issue there.
Here's a question, right? Something that was kind of brought up by Parhelion earlier, in some form. I'm going to kind of, not paraphrase, but I'm going to kind of make an extension of his point. But for a long time, we've kind of accepted that these kind of cups aren't for the players in a kind of sense, as in the maps are very difficult, very strange, very unforgiving. I think is very accurate with them. You know, I remember one of them where you had to jump onto the blue and white wall with a ring CP around it, and you know, some people just couldn't do it. You would land on it perfectly and you would bug off because it was a buggy block and things like that. So the maps aren't there for the players. The maps are there as part of the entertainment, you know, and the lily pad as well. You know, lily pad's also a prime example of that. But also, I mean, where do you see the future of this cup going? Do you see the future of this cup just simply scaling up its you know, its attempts at exposure, so to speak, you know, of a bigger stage, as we've seen? I believe, I'm correct in saying this, I believe Eirik wrote about this, how there's been quite a drop in players actually for this edition compared to a lot of the other editions. And also, I mean, Zerator Cup kind of held its kind of unique place in Trackmania, and when Zerator Cup was coming in, it was on par with some of the larger events in terms of the benefit you got from as a player, but also you know, it was in a place where there really wasn't much competition. You know, when Trackmania's other tournaments were struggling, such as the Mania Planet World Cup that was held in a fucking courtroom, you know, in the years it wasn't held at all, and the years where it was only community driven tournaments or initiatives that were given. So I mean, would you get one of the points that was made by Parhelion is how the Zerator Cup doesn't even reach the amount of prize pool given by the Ice Summer Cup, which I believe is organised by Flink and has a €3,000 prize pool.
And it's more fun.
Yeah, I mean, depends who you ask, but I mean, considering this is someone organising it who's got infinitely less resources, but is still managing to bring more to the players. I mean, do you see any push for that? Do you see any possibility of that changing in future? Because I mean, we've seen the Solary Cup, for example, which you could then look as the closest kind of the closest example of that. Always put a significantly higher amount of prize pool into it and care towards the players in that regard. Is that something you see coming to Zerator Cup? As we've seen in the past in interviews, that he essentially doesn't really care about the players in some kind of... Well, he does care about the players, but his priority is not the players. Shall I rephrase that?
Yeah, I think ZrT has different mindsets about things, also with, let's say, casting in English. I mean, we had already debate about that also when I was joining the server for the quarterfinals. It was Yannick was very happy about having an English caster, at least for the quarterfinals. And I mean, I was also like in contact already 1 month before that with John, who's organizing for that. And he was like, I don't take it negative, but he was already annoyed by that a bit because, you know, he would also love to have a caster, but he just does not want to discuss with him. So I'm just like, okay, I take it. I cover the quarterfinal. That is fine. But I think he has different mindsets about those things. You can see it in a caster than what his whole ideas about the cup. So that it's not for the players, it is to be a show, you know? It should not be an esports event. It's a bit weird because, you know, we have the best Trackmania players playing there. I mean, we only have French players left, but of course they're the pinnacle of Trackmania because they just have the biggest player base. You can see it. But I think the ZrT Cup is unique. He already said that, and it has a different goal behind that. Just being a show, being prestigious in the way that it has a lot of exposure also for the winner. We have seen that last year. Gwen won the ZrT Cup. He got a raid with like 50,000 people from Zerator. I mean, isn't that good for you as a player? Of course, there's the prize pool, but as Shorty said, we're not playing this event for the prize pool. We will play it because we have this stage experience. Of course, if Corona wouldn't be there, or we have the exposure on the stream with over 50,000 people watching. I don't know how many views the Zerator had this year, but I think not that many, right?
By his standards, let's make that clear.
Huh? What?
But Trackmania itself had a lot of views. I don't know if his stream, how is his stream itself fared, but I mean, it does also make sense because this time you had so many more options for spectating and point of view, and with this format, it made a lot more sense to spectate in point of view as well.
Yeah, maybe it's in the grand finals, it will be better. I don't know how many
Yeah.
viewers he had. I didn't mean it in a disrespectful way or anything. I mean, Zerator is doing a great work, but yeah, it feels a bit like one-sided. You know, he is using the players for a show, and then also there's no like coverage for that because he's just seeing it at the show. I mean, it's his opinion and it's completely fine, but I would not do that as an organizer. I'm not sure what you guys are thinking about, or like, what do you think about that?
You know, he's not forcing anyone to play. You know, it's
No,
your
of
own
course.
decision, and I think something you can definitely say about something good you can say about it is you see a lot of tournaments sort of trying to replicate ZrT Cup, and I don't think all of them just do it because they see it. I think there is definitely a case to be made that
forehead.
yeah, I think no, not TMGL. I don't even mean TMGL, but I mean the sort of spike in like French cups, like with the same sort of map style. And I do think there's a case to be made that it's not only because of the ZrT Cup, but also because there are people that do enjoy playing those kind of maps. That's at least what I think. So you can say what you want. I mean, you know, I'm not a big fan of the tournament itself, simply because I don't like those maps. That's all it is, to be honest. That's why I'm not playing it, obviously, but I'm still watching it. But to get back to the question, like I just would say no. Simply as that. I don't think he has any interest. As we already said, you know, he has no interest in making it an esports competition. It's crystal clear. Of course, if he can, he would definitely probably want to get a stage back and everything. But in its core, it's still a show, and it's still for himself. You know, that's the reason he doesn't let anyone else basically cast it, because that's his show. You know, he hosts it. It's for his stream itself. It's for, that, you know, it definitely is. It's completely understandable. And that's maybe also how I should start thinking about it more, because I'm still annoyed that I can't watch it in fucking English. Because I mean, I want to watch it, you know. I do want to watch it because it's definitely still interesting, even though I'm kind of cringing every single time I see a really bad mistake that I would say, yeah, I totally get you, man. I would also be really pissed at this map right now. But in general, I still really am interested in watching those finals, and I would really like to do it in English, obviously. But I can understand why it's not that like that, and I don't think he has any reason to increase the prize pool when players don't even play for the prize pool to begin with. You know, maybe there's a little bit of incentive, but it's not like raising the prize pool will get him more players. So why should he do it?
Yeah, I mean, Trackmania and prize pool is always like a relationship that is, well, we didn't have a single, maybe Twitch rivals, and then this event in 2006. What else? I cannot think about an event that had like over 20,000 in prize pool. Maybe, of course, Trackmania Grand League when we combine it or anything like that. But I mean, Trackmania prize pools are a joke for the effort that players are putting in and how competitive this game is. I think if there were tournaments with bigger prize pools, maybe no one would play Zerator Cup. Let's just put 1-0 behind everything. Maybe Trackmania Grand League, 100,000 euro. Maybe players would only play it for fun and don't put in any effort. I don't know. I have no idea, but I mean, still 2,000 euro in Trackmania is a lot. And if we think about it that way, we have this icy summer competition, which is funded by the community, as well as the German Trackmania Cup and numerous other competitions. We just had a crowdfunding from the community. I mean, that is a great way to just reach and to just foster the prize pool or increase it, and it worked out pretty well. I'm not sure if this would be a reason or like a thing for the Zerator Cup, but I doubt that.
You're paying ourselves. You're basically our own market.
Yeah, exactly. We're our own market. It's a bit contradicting, actually, because it's contradicting.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. I remember the distaste towards Zerator. Not that I'm really saying there is any now, but it really got quite high after there was a Zerator Cup where spam was allowed to cast.
2006.
That was ZrT Cup 4, the one which Happy Flyer won, if I do remember correctly, if I'm even getting the right one that he won. But it was the one that Happy Flyer won, I know that much. So spam was allowed to cast that, and the keyword being allowed there, because nothing happens at Zerator's Cup unless Zerator wants it to happen. You don't get, if he doesn't want an English cast, you don't get an English cast. It's an important thing to remember for a lot of the people who have their perspectives about this, almost relating it to other Trackmania tournaments. Zerator's a businessman.
Yeah.
He does this for himself. It's, of course, some of it is indirectly giving back to the community in sense of a prize pool, in sense of allowing his exposure to rub off on other people. I mean, look at the mounds of French streamers who have gained some sort of following as a result of Zerator Cup. I could name 5 of them off the top of my head alone. There's a great many people who can credit the Zerator Cup directly with their ability to be able to make a living from streaming. I'm not going to start naming names and have it these people, Zerator, everything, whatever. I'm sure you guys will know them. But in terms of the Zerator Cup, this is a cup for him. He is a businessman. He knows, as exactly you guys have said there, that people are going to play the cup anyway because that exposure rubs off on him. He could offer nothing to that but LAN finals, for example, and people would still play it. The only thing that would change if you had a bigger prize pool was more international people would play it. That's the only thing that would change. Now, the important thing to remember is Zerator doesn't give a fuck about the international community. Zerator's audience is almost entirely French. I would say it is pretty much entirely French. French speaking, sorry. I mean, the Zerator isn't interested in expanding to markets that are outside France. If he was interested in that, he would be speaking English in his streams. He doesn't. He speaks French. So it doesn't surprise me at all, and people need to come to terms with that. People need to come to terms with the fact that these tournaments and these cups aren't made for them. They aren't made for their benefit. They're made for his benefit. And the people that then that cup benefits are not in the same category as a lot of the people who are complaining. A lot of the people who complain are English speaking or do not speak French. A lot of the people who are complaining don't like these kind of maps, or don't see the prize pool as being high enough, or don't benefit from any of the exposure that Zerator brings to the cup. And I think it's just very important to get perspective when speaking about the contribution Zerator makes, because the contribution Zerator makes are still massive, but they are to one specific group, and that is the French-speaking group of Trackmania, and as I say, that is just the way it is. It's as simple as that. I'm sure no one would be complaining if, I don't know, Soda Poppin or something like that, when he was streaming Trackmania, came around with a Soda Poppin cup and it was €2,000 or $2,000, I suppose, for him, and he hosted a big tournament and got a big following for a bunch of English speaking streamers. No one would complain. It's just because it's been more isolated in this kind of sense, and it's easier to kind of point out things about that. But yeah, it is a show. It's, as exactly you've hit the nail on the head. It's not meant to be a tournament. It's not meant to be an esports event. It's meant to be a show. It's there to entertain his viewers. It's there to gain exposure for him, gain exposure for people who are in a sense going to roll that over into him. I mean, all of your big French streamers that he kind of made, so to speak, roll that back into Zerator when they stream his ZLAN, they stream the Zerator Cup in future. It all keeps rolling together. So yeah, it's just one of those things, and I think it's very interesting what he's managed to do. But yeah, I do certainly will, to answer my own question, I would say that I don't see him increasing it at all going forward. And I would look to other competitions to increase their prize pool, but I mean, with the level of prize pool we have in Trackmania, it feels like the top players are just going to play everything anyway, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with you on that point, and that's also why I'm not complaining or anything. It would just not be my approach to that, because if someone asked me, okay, yeah, can I cast that in my language, I would never say no to that, because it's not anything that is very bad for me. It's not harming me. So why shouldn't I give this guy the opportunity of like casting in English? If it's I also said that on stream. I don't care if it's me or anything. I just want to have an English coverage that I can watch it, you know? I would also cast it, of course. I would love to cast it, but you could also ask like someone like Virtual, for example, who's casting, who has maybe the growth and the reach, and then maybe they can do like also a collaboration. I don't know, but even then, he is not interested in an English audience, as you said, because he's speaking French on the stream. So I get the point, and I think it's a good thing to think about. But you know, still, you offer it for free from the community, and they are not like, he doesn't want it. It's fine, it's his decision, but I would not handle it this way. But it doesn't mean that I'm correct or that he's wrong or whatever. It's just my opinion about that, and I'm just grateful that I could even cast the quarterfinal to that point. So that's great.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah, if you look at it from his point of view, like everything does make sense, and I agree with Turbo. I would still probably allow it because it doesn't hurt you at all, but it's still his decision to be made, and you can't fault him or you can't complain about it. I mean, you can't complain about it, but he won't care about you complaining about it either. So exactly. You know, that's just how it goes exactly.
Yeah.
The way the cookie crumbles, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, he has the might, or like he is the superior streamer. He is maybe even the biggest French streamer out there, the top 5, you know, in France. So really, really cool, of course, for him. He definitely deserves it. And as he already said, he gave Trackmania the exposure. He also grew with Trackmania together. ZrT Cup 1 to this edition. I mean, I think there were only hundreds of people watching. Only that is still a lot, of course, but you know, and now there were 100,000 last year, you know, that is like a tremendous difference. So he grew with that game, and also he took the game with him, and I think without the ZrT Cup we would not be where we are at the moment. But I think we will definitely see other tournaments coming up this year still that are big in price pool. Maybe even some streamers are involved. I could definitely imagine like someone like Trilux, for example, doing a German Cup. Or maybe even some other streamer, also Lyric, is interested in the game. Maybe something will happen. I don't know. Maybe. That would be very cool, of course. But we should never take it for granted, and that's I want to just say that we should never take it for granted that someone like ZrT is organizing a Trackmania Cup, because that is awesome. That's just explosive for the game, and regardless if we have an English cast or not, it is good for us because more players will come. Of course, the English cast will be the tippy top, you know, the cherry on the ice cream, but it is what it is. If he doesn't want it, then it's his decision, so it's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just as this is going to be a little bit of a shorter episode, I want to finally get your guys' thoughts on the actual participants to the semi-finals. So just to give everyone a little bit of a rundown of the teams that did qualify, we have Papa League, which is Gwen, Aurel, and Papu. BS Plus, which is Glassed, Snow, and Default. Team Ya, which is Yannick, Asire, and Across. Wooby, which is Wosel, Worker, and Binks. Mint, which is Chalik, Legu, and Tricky. MMS, Mika, Mimo Jr., and Sam. Warthox, which is Ayako, Rin, and Otak. KCB, Carl Jr., Bren, and Kenny. And lastly, Lecrux, Heave, Bad Lulu, and Alpha Dream. What do you get your impression on that, Turbo? You watched all of these teams go through the quarterfinals. Was there any kind of teams that really surprised you at all coming into this?
Actually, not really. They were all so prepared, and I had like an idea what is going on in the rounds. Match 2 was very close. I think it was the team around... against whom did they play? I think it was the team from Mika. I think they were a bit close, but I don't remember even. Oh no, it was Bad Ludo's team. Bad Ludo's team was close of getting eliminated in that round because they were almost overtaken. Because I think Alpha Dream played not that well. Their Heave was out of his mind. Bad Ludo was just okay. But, well, I mean, it's team effort. A team that really was sticking out to me was the team from Yannick. That team was good. Aside and Across. And also the team from Glass, No Default, and Gwen, Aurel, Papu. I mean, they're the top seeded teams as well. They are, for me, of course, also the favorites. And I think that Gwen, Aurel, Papu will make it into the final. But match 2 will be very close. But I'm not seeing actually Kenny, Carl Jr. and Bren making it. Of course, we had some great rounds from Kenny. There was 1 or 2 rounds where he got into the top 8. But he needs to win a round because it will be cup mode afterwards. And winning against those players, that will be hard actually, because only the first team is going through. But all in all, I think the level is very, very sick. Of course, Team Papa League was on another level with Gwen driving 0.2 behind world record, and they were just dominating. They're the clear favorites still for me. But for match 2 and 3, I cannot really tell. I'm not sure who will make it there.
You know, like winning 1 round with Kenny is one thing for the finalist mode, but actually getting those points as well will also be a tricky situation already. Like maybe he can like, he's obviously the weakest link of the team, right? So he is basically playing against the other weakest players of the other teams, and he has to essentially beat them to like, also not only the finalists but already getting there is also like a really big challenge. I don't know the point system for the semifinals and finals, but the point system is probably also going to favor
10-8-7, so on.
No, it's actually pretty decent then. But still, like, getting those big points is still important, and Kenny is not a player that can win rounds and get those big points. You know, it's not a problem if you're like inconsistent and fail often. That's easy, because then you can counterbalance that with winning a couple of rounds. But if you're slow but steady, it's basically Mario's problem in a lot of situations. You know, it's just if you're consistent in Trackmania, most point systems don't really want you to be consistent. They of course you still get consistently points, but you're still gonna reach finalists later than someone that crashes more often but gets those big points. And that's gonna be like, I really want to see that actually, because that would be really insane if they make it. But it's gonna be really tricky, I think.
But I think we have seen that already in Zerator Cup 2019. Now we have a three-way, three-way team. All have to make it. You know, yeah, that sounded a bit wrong, but you know, 3 players have to make it from the teams, and there could be the situation where we have 7 winners, but no team going through, or like only 1 team going through. Yeah, okay, or no, 5 winners. Let's say like that, 5 winners. Wait. 6 winners, but no team going through. I was getting it wrong there, but because only 1 team is going through. But you know, the points will stack up, and there's maybe only 1 round where he has the chance of making it, because eventually the finalists cannot get the points, and they will deny points to the others, and then the others will lurk in the finalists and come closer and closer. And with that point system, then the first player is out, the second player is out, maybe the third player as well from the other team, and then you get at least 4 points from finishing just a round. So I think it is possible, but only with a lot of luck. What
is the point limit?
I think 120 or 100. I don't know.
120. I think they have a chance. I think Kenny is definitely. If it's 120, I do think Kenny will get finalist.
Yeah. Definitely possible.
Cool.
Maybe they all change techniques, and they're like, okay, maybe they just DNF the first 10 rounds or something, and then they're just denying. I don't know.
I mean, what you can do, I think Marius talked about it actually. Of course, it's Marius and Lars thinking about these things. But if you're a TeamSpeak and you know, okay, he's like just 1 position behind me, you can let him through. You know, in every single round, you can always try to let him through to get more points.
Point limit is 100 actually.
Oh my god, no, really.
Then
it's nice to think of that. I remember a certain Team Cup final when I think both M&M and D Corp tried that, and it went wrong. But yeah, I mean, some tactics I'm sure will come out. Some tactics will be laid upon the table. But just to finish up, guys, was there any one team which really surprised you that they didn't get through to this stage?
Well, I mean, Massa looked very, very, very good, actually, in this format. Pack was not practicing. They look very nice. Maybe also the team from Marmelade, Avon and Insane, they also look very good. But all in all, I mean, I think only the French teams really practice hard. So I think that nothing really surprised me at all, because it's eventually a team effort. And if a player like, I don't know, Granadi doesn't make it, maybe Granadi yeah, maybe also Plasterix with Lars. But yeah, I mean, the other teams just were so strong. There was a clear gap between the teams, actually. There was always a clear gap in the quarterfinals. So nothing really surprised me.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, looking at all the rounds and the times they had, I think the team that would have had the best chances, and maybe if they would have played in the different quarterfinal, it would have maybe been Lars, Plasterex, and Marius. But obviously you can't make that claim anyway. It's not really working. And also looking at those maps, the way they work, I'm not surprised at anything, to be fair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think it was quite fair, especially when you look at it that way, that there just simply wasn't the other teams practicing in the same way that they would have done for some other competitions. But definitely still an interesting tournament to keep your eye on. And of course, the teams for the semi-final will be Papalik, MMS and Le Crux. So that's Gwen, Papu, Aurel, Mimo, Mika, Sam, Heave, Bad Lulu and Alpha Dream in one semi-final. And reminder, only one team gets through. And semi-final 2, Team Ya, Yannick, Cross Acide, Mint, Legu, Tricky, Jalik, Wooby, Wosel, Worker and Binks in semi-final 2. And last but not least, BS Plus, Dolfault, Glass and Snow, Carl Jr., Brent, Kenny and Warthogs with Otak, Ayako and Rin. So only one of those teams will make it through to the grand finals. One team from each of the groups of 3 will make it through to the grand finals, and then those guys will play for the grand prize. And we will be seeing that coming up on Thursday, the 29th of July, I believe. So we might get a little bit of talking in about it next week. We will see. But we have just about finished our talking for today, as our lovely man has to go and do some more talking. However, not talking with us, unfortunately. I'm feeling a little bit cheated on, but I'm sure I'll get over it in the space between now and next podcast, or maybe I'll make it work for it. We'll see. But anyway, we are going to be done for today, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you all have a very lovely evening, and head over to where is it again? ESA
Marathon 2. I can link the channel.
ESA Marathon 2, where Mr. Turbo will be commenting on a speedrun of, I believe, the summer campaign run by Rasta. So link has been put in the chat, but otherwise it has been lovely, although slightly painful for me today, shall we say. But yeah, I suppose we'll leave you guys to it. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I'm going to try and not get melted by the sun. As you can see, my blinds are shut. I've learned my lesson. Turbo's blinds are shut. Shorty's blinds are shut. It's time to be absorbed by the sun. And maybe we will still be alive for next week. But if we're not, we hope you guys enjoy the rest of your life. And see you later on.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.